Welcome to Bound by Books, a podcast of 5 authors across the genres talking about that one thing that we're all bound by, books. I am your host, Danielle Bannister, and I am joined today by fellow host, Tina Moss. And today, Tina and I are going to be talking about a part 2 episode that we did on the Marvel Cinematic Universe and how it relates to writing, not just, looking at man candy, but we'll talk about how that connects to writing as well. And we'll link to that other episode as well. But before we dive into Marvel madness, I wanted to check in with you and see what's going on with you writing wise. I know you just had a recent release and you just came back from a signing. What's going on with you?
I did. So I had just released Aliens Captive, the first in my new sci-fi romance series, at the end of October. The plan, which, how we all feel about plans, but the plan was to take a few days off, attend the conference, come back and jump into writing. That has not happened. I do have Aliens Mate, book number 2, scheduled for January. So my goal is to get everything situated with the business and then to jump into Aliens Mate and get that done so that it will be on time for the current release date in January.
Crazy that they're essentially back-to-back releases at this point, right? I mean,
yeah, and the goal is really to have the entire series back-to-back. They are shorter books, so they're going to be no more than 60,000 words, probably under it. As I spoke to many other sci-fi romance authors at the conference, they tried to convince me to write a little bit shorter, release them fast, and get them out. So I'm open to that idea.
How many are you thinking that you'll have, or is it unknown at this point in that series?
I'm going to plan for between 5 and 6, and then if it continues to do well, continues to take off, and readers like it, I will continue to write them. But I actually,
and then you may get them shorter at that point.
Yeah, I did plan with this book to spin off 2 series. So this is the first one, but the way that it's written is there's no spoiler alert here because it's literally the opening of the book. Is the heroine, who is the human character in the book, is essentially on a deep space mission, the first one from Earth. Their ship is attacked. She is taken to another planet and sold as a slave, but we don't know what happened to her crewmates. So right now we're with her. We're going to return to Earth. We're going to make some negotiations happen between Earth and my alien warriors, but we also have to find out what happened to the crew. So that is going to be the second series.
Nice.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And what about you? What are you working on, Miss Nano?
Oh God, yeah. I'm still plodding away with Nano, this project that I wasn't planning on writing. I had other things set for November, and I was just gonna
the plan.
I had a plan. It was in pencil, but I had a plan. And I was going to be working on 2 different manuscripts this month. And that went out the window when I got a random idea to do Nano on day 1 of Nano. And I'm like, I'll do it. Fine, I'll do it. The other 2 projects, it wasn't like a massive deadline that I had to fit those. So I'm like, okay, I'll bump you for now and we'll work on that. So I'm doing Nano, whether I like it or not. I think I'll get it to 50,000, but it'll be a rough first draft, which is the whole point of Nano, is to get a very rough first draft. And this month I've actually also put my rom-com, The ABCs of D, on sale. So it'll be the final days of the sale. So this is, if you're looking for a book about a woman who decides to take on a bet to date the alphabet at 40, now's your time to grab it while it's on sale, because I'm putting it back off on sale in December. So that's what's going on with me, and getting ready for, cooking all the stuff for turkey. And
the holidays coming up. When this podcast goes up, Thanksgiving will be over. Well, however,
yes,
we will be getting into the December season of holidays. So
yeah. There'll be leftovers still. I'll still be eating next week. I'll still be eating those leftovers. You can be sure. I actually bought extra potatoes so that I could have, I have no problem having a week of just nothing but turkey leftovers for a week. I have no problem with that at all. My kids may complain, but make yourself a pizza. I'm having turkey.
There you go.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so the last time that we talked, I'm going to try to refocus ourselves now into Marvel and how it relates to writing and how we can learn from Marvel as writers. The last time that we talked, I think, and my memory is not so great, so refresh me if I'm wrong. The last time we talked, I think Loki had either just finished or was about to finish. And since then, we've had Shang-Chi and the Eternals. Hawkeye and No Way Home are knocking on the door. I'm just curious, what have you seen? What ones are you excited for if you haven't seen things yet?
So I haven't seen the Eternals yet. I was away when my usual crew of Marvel fans attended the theater. And they were very mediocre on it, and not for the reasons of diversity. Like, we're all for diversity in movies, as some of the fandom has been a little toxic in that area. But they just didn't. I think it was hard for them to grasp the introduction of a lot of characters. I am still going to see the movie. I'm excited about it, but when I saw, and I believe it's Shang-Chi, I'm going to pronounce that wrong probably 1,000 times, but I adored Shang-Chi. It gave me all the feels. It's literally in my top 5 of Marvel movies now. It reminded me a lot of like Thor Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy. It had that kind of fun campiness to it, while still telling a very much hero's journey style story, right? So that was so much fun, and I think really showed how you can take that old kind of hero's journey line that we think of like being very serious and developmental to a character and make it funny, like really funny. That there was so much comedy in it. Awkwafina, the actress, absolutely stole the show, stole the movie for me. She was,
which says a lot about a secondary character, how you can lift up a secondary character to not just be, the external idiot who does, who's explaining to the rest of us, this is what's going on, because that's absolutely the role that she serves. She's like helping us along, explaining this for us. But she's also great comic relief, which stories that have a lot of action, a lot of high stakes, really need that comedic element to release some of the tension and the stress that you're feeling when you're watching something, or if you're reading something. You need that sort of comic relief to go, okay, it's okay, right?
She's kind of she does embody the classic sidekick trope, but she's just so brilliant on the screen and so well written that I think you kind of forget that she's the sidekick character. Because she when she's on the screen, she steals it. She absolutely does. Not to say that I forget the actor's name now, but he's brilliant as well. I love that. I love the play between the two of them. I think they have a lot of like chemistry as actors and playing the characters on the screen. But man, every time she was on, my eyes were just drawn to her, because every line that was going to come out of her mouth was going to have me howling. So I definitely appreciated that. But I do think it's interesting that because you've had the sidekick character that can be funny, that could be for comedic relief, but her character was also very rich. There was a very strong friendship between them, and almost like you could feel when she discovered like who he really is. No real spoilers here, because hey, the chosen one, essentially. You could feel her betrayal in him not having told her, because they had been friends for so many years. Like, I was like, oh, I feel that. Like, I totally get where you're coming from. Man, I would be pissed if that was my friend too. So everything she did was also very believable and very relatable. So in addition to being funny, I just found myself really connecting with her.
I also appreciated that they didn't kind of shove a romance between the two of them at us. That wasn't even like on my radar, that they were a romantic couple at all. Like, even at the dinner scene, she's like, well, what are you two? I'm like, they're friends. They're not a thing. And so, I mean, maybe they will be down the line, but for right now, this is a, you can have a platonic friendship with someone of the opposite sex, and how lovely that is to see represented on the screen so beautifully. And somebody who loves romance, you would think that I would miss that, but I didn't, because I got that romance feel from other characters in this particular movie. So I was still fed, just not that way. So I appreciated having a friendship.
Yeah, I felt that way too. And I am the biggest sucker in the world for a friends to lover trope. Oh my God, I love friends to lover trope. I think I even love it more than enemies to lover, quite honestly. It's one of my favorites. Cinnamon roll is given to me all the time. I felt a little undercurrent of that, but I think that they did that just so if they do decide in later movies to go in that direction, that the little crumbs are there, but it wasn't so in your face about it. It was definitely more about the platonic friendship and how they truly cared about each other as friends. And okay, maybe at some point this will grow into a romance, and maybe not. We'll just, we'll just put these little crumbs here and see what happens. But it wasn't, the emphasis on the friendship was what I loved about it too. Yeah.
Right. Well, I know that you haven't seen Eternals. My daughter and I went opening night because I've turned her into a Marvel addict just in the last year. I mean,
that's good parenting.
right. I tried dragging her because I used to take my son with me to the premieres, but now he doesn't really care about them. So at least now I've got another kid to come with me. And so we saw the matinee. We saw a matinee because we wanted to see it as soon as possible, because both of us were avoiding being online because we didn't want to see anything, even though so much was already spoiled for us by certain people in the media who decided to give away end credit information the day that the media got to see it. I'm like, are you new? You don't do that. That's not what you do. It's the worst thing you could ever do. So that was, so, but Eternals, I personally really liked it. But it is definitely a completely different feel than the types of Marvel movies that we're used to. And I think the Eternals had a really hard job of introducing this brand new set of characters who I'm predicting are sort of going to try to replace the original OG Avengers, the six of, I assume that's what they're doing with this, is that these will be the new core people, maybe not. And we are so emotionally invested with our core six that I think anybody that they introduce might have a hard time of like, who, you're supposed to be like Captain America now? Are you supposed to be Iron Man? There might be some resistance there. And they also have 10 characters that they're trying to introduce, 10 characters at once, where Avengers, we already knew these characters individually. They all had their sort of origin stories, so we all knew them. So it wasn't like introducing brand new people. And we're also introducing brand new mythology into this. So it's a lot of information to process. I think that this movie, once others come out, we'll start to appreciate more what this movie did, but it might have just been too much information to take in all at once. I thought it was beautifully shot, just cinematically gorgeous. One of the best speedsters I have ever seen on film. Just go for that alone. They finally got a speedster right.
That is what my friend said about it too.
Holy crap, it's great how they did that. And some of the things were probably a little slower than they needed to be. But again, they would, I think, working on trying to bring out character development versus maybe plot development. And I'm a sucker for character-driven movies, so maybe that's why I really enjoyed it. So I think that that's something that we could look at in terms of when you're writing a story. Are you writing a story that's plot-driven or character-driven? I think Eternals is a character-driven film, and maybe some of the other MCUs are a little bit more plot-driven in some ways. So it's just something to think about when you're looking at them, that there are different ways of telling a story,
right?
And you can learn from that.
And I think, and correct me if I am wrong, but the Eternals almost feels like very fantasy-esque style book, where you have this big cast of characters, big world building elements,
Yep.
right? And then you're trying to introduce all of these different things. So I think for specifically a fantasy writer, that's probably a really good movie to go off of. Whereas with the original Avenger movies, when you had one character who was the lead character and really the film was about them, that's much more, you could have it in fantasy, like a Harry Potter, I guess, style fantasy for lack of, thinking of other titles, more recent titles, but it's usually in romance, we certainly have that. You're not going to have a huge cast in romance. Even if you do, it's going to be like one book is centered on each particular character. So you have time and breadth to tell the story. Whereas if you're telling a fantasy story where you have a large cast and large world building, this might be a good example.
Like a Lord of the Rings, maybe. There's a lot of characters in Lord of the Rings. So, it's worth paying attention to if you like movies in the MCU, because it's going to be referred back to them. There's no way that they're going to go forward and not mention these characters again. I think that these are going to be sort of canon for movies going forward. So, but I'm stoked for Hawkeye. When this broadcast comes out, Hawkeye the first 2 episodes will have already aired, because they're dropping 2 episodes. Are you excited for Hawkeye, or you're like,
I'm still, I don't know how to explain it, but I'm still processing Loki.
A lot went down with Loki. A lot went down.
I don't know if I'm ready for, Hawkeye to me, or the teasers that I've seen of it, feels lighter. Feels like it's, just in time for the Christmas season kind of thing.
Yes, a little relief, a little comic relief, I think is what it's going to be. So
that'll be nice. I'm excited about Yelena coming in. I'm want to know so much more about her character, so that'll be interesting.
Yes, agreed.
Hawkeye himself is an interesting character in the comics. I have not been thrilled with the way that he's been portrayed in movies, and that's nothing to do with the actor. It just feels like they've mishmash different areas.
They haven't given him much.
No,
they have not given him much to work with.
Like, here's a family man. Here's, maybe we have this thing with Natasha. Oh no, now we're brother and sister, and now also I'm a ninja. Like,
right. Right. I think that the one time that all right, so we're introduced to Hawkeye in Thor, but we get like a minute of him. So that's not enough to know what this character is. And then the next time we see him is in Avengers, and he's instantly a bad guy. So our first impression of him is, oh, he's a bad guy. And first impressions stick with us whether we like it or not. And then it's not until Age of Ultron that he actually gets a storyline, and I loved what he did in Age of Ultron, and I'm like, yes, more of that from Hawkeye. Let him be some comic relief. He can be funny. Let him be funny. But I think because he is a human and doesn't have any superpowers, and he doesn't have, the boobs that Scarlett Johansson has, nobody likes him because he doesn't have any sort of redeeming assets to, whatever. And I think they gave him, the machete because at least that's cooler than a bow and arrow. So I think they're trying really hard to give him something. Just give him some funny lines, because he can be funny. So I'm really hoping that Hawkeye sort of delivers on the promise of how funny I think that character is.
Because it could be another, like we said, Ragnarok, Guardians of the Galaxy, Shang-Chi style movie. They could really go in that really go in that direction of the comedic timing. Just right now, I feel like the character doesn't have any sense of self. There's just too many things that they've tried to do with this character, and none of it has really landed well, which is also a really great point for writing. Because when you have if you're going to introduce a character, they have to have a 3-dimensional quality to them. Otherwise, they're just, a trope, which is okay. You can have some of those characters too. I am not the one who says that every character must be 3-dimensional and well-rounded. You can have some like 2D characters in there. Sometimes they're needed, but if you're going to have a character like Hawkeye, who is so much involved in all of these different films, like, he's got to be 3-dimensional. He can't be just a 2D image or utilized for plot-driven purposes.
He feels like he's been like the forgotten one in the writing room. Like, oh yeah, Hawkeye's in here too. What do we give him to do? you know, and
yeah.
And again, nothing against Jeremy Renner. I mean, he's doing what he can with what he's given, which unfortunately I don't think has been much. But so I'm really hoping that Hawkeye does him justice.
And you know, talking about platonic characters again, right? I'm not mad that they decided to have Hawkeye and Natasha be friends. I actually thought that was a beautiful friendship between them. I thought it was a lot based on mutual respect. Obviously, when they have the scene over the Soul Stone, it's gut-wrenching. It's great. I know a lot of people were upset because in the comics they do have a romantic relationship, a pretty long-standing romantic relationship. I wasn't as mad about that because I thought platonic friendship on the screen between them, especially when Natasha has been overly sexualized, like having somebody who doesn't see her in that way is kind of nice.
Yes.
But they didn't stick with that from the beginning. No. You know, they kind of introduced like, oh, maybe they could have romance. And then they squashed it with no real explanation to have this what I think is a beautiful friendship between them. I wish they would have started with that and set that up originally, because then I feel like it would have carried more weight to it.
That's something to learn about character development in terms of know what you want your characters to do. Sometimes when you're discovering what your character is and you've already written like books behind, you can't just suddenly change their motivation without some sort of explanation. So it's fine if they want to be friends, but if you've alluded to this potential romance, you've got to iron that hiccup out before, you know, and I don't think that they did that. So another lesson to learn. And then No Way Home, good Lord.
Oh yeah.
That's coming out on my daughter's birthday. Guess where we'll be? We will be at the theater, and who the heck knows who's going to be in this movie at this point? It seems like everybody is going to be in every single person in Hollywood is going to be in this movie. So it just, I'm just going to see who's going to be there at this point.
I hope we get some Into the Spideyverse characters in there. I love
everyone.
I
just heard a rumor that Sandra Bullock was rumored to be in it. Like, what? Bringing random people in? What?
You gonna be another Spider-Man? Like,
I don't know, but you know, when you open up the multiverse, anything literally could be possible, right? So who knows? I'm just going along for the ride, but it's been really hard because that's the one that I'm like, stop talking about it. You're gonna ruin the movie. Just stop it. Nobody. I mean, I feel really bad for poor Andrew Garfield, who's out there now trying to promote his gorgeous movie, Tick, Tick, Boom. If you haven't seen it, it's freaking amazing. The boy can sing. He's trying to promote this poor movie, and everybody's asking him, you know, are you in Spider-Man? I'm like, dude, that's not what he's here to promote. Can you not? This is why we can't have nice things, right? Honest to God.
But that brings us to a pretty great point, because you were talking about that before of spoilers, right? And like, what kind of moviegoer, but also what kind of reader are you? There are readers who open the book and read the last page.
I know people like that.
I can't even imagine it. I can't fathom it. It's like, even with romance, where I know it's going to be a happily ever after. I'm not reading the last page. You crazy?
No. I mean, I get that there's like this sense of like, it's an easing of anxiety. They need to know that things are going to end a certain way so that they can sit back and enjoy it. It's you know, it's an anxiety reliever, but dude, don't tell me. I really don't like spoilers. I want to go on the journey that the movie maker or the writer wants to take me on. I will take whatever, you know, teaser or trailer that they want to give me and let that be the judge if I want to go on the journey with them. But don't tell me, you know, who the surprise end credits are. Don't show me the footage. Don't do that. You're just ruining it for me.
I don't know. And do you have this experience? So a lot of films that I go to watch that are outside of the Marvel universe, because actually Marvel does a pretty good job at sometimes misdirection and putting yeah, like Easter eggs. You don't quite know where it's going to go.
Right.
But I find with the majority of films, from being a writer and an editor for so many years, I know where it's going. Like I'm picking this up so easily. It to the point where it spoils the experience for me.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I've already predicted the ending.
Yeah. I don't want a trailer that tells me the whole plot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, tell me the tone, tell me, you know, the vibe that you're putting down, but don't tell me everything. And yeah, Marvel is notorious for doing that, for blatantly lying in their trailers. They will edit out people that are in the scene, or they will put people in the scene that aren't really there in an effort to misdirect people and think that they know what way that they're going. Right. So don't rely on a Marvel trailer as gospel of what's going to be in the movie, because they try really hard not to spoil you.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is something about movie trailers telling too much. They give away too much of the plot, and you don't want to see it because you know you're not going to be surprised.
Yeah.
Even you'll be entertained.
Even in the experience itself, though, or like when I'm sitting down to watch a film, and listen, things can be formulaic. I'm not one of those people who say you shouldn't have formula. Lord knows romance has plenty of formula. I have plenty of formula in my own books. Sure. But when I sit down to watch a film, and within the first couple minutes, I immediately know where the story is going. I know how it's going to end. I know everything about the characters. There's going to be no surprises. That to me is like, I don't have as enjoyable an experience. I want to be surprised. I want you to lead me down a road that I didn't know I was going to go down. And I do feel like when you're writing, it's something to think about. There is something to be said for familiarity. And I've read at this point over 200 sci-fi romance books. It's going to be very hard for you to surprise me with something in sci-fi romance. I've pretty much read it all at this point. But there is something to be said for books that take you on a journey, movies that take you on, this road that you didn't know you were going to go down. Because the worst thing is to sit there for 2 hours going, yep,
called that.
Okay. Yeah. And there's no real joy in it that way. So I think for the Marvel movies, like you said, they do a really good job in their trailers of not spoiling it. But in the actual storytelling in the film as well, even when you can kind of see, the trope like the hero's journey and Shang-Chi, and you kind of see where this is going, there's a surprise. There's something else that you probably weren't thinking about. And I appreciate that aspect of the storytelling.
Yeah. I can think of several of the, particularly in the Marvel universe, that you go, wait a minute, that's not where I thought you were gonna go at all. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that's something absolutely to pick up on if you're writing. If you feel like you can sort of predict the story, maybe that's a good clue. Is, well, maybe I shouldn't do that. Mm-hmm. Maybe I should try something else. I mean, if that came too easy, maybe shake it up a little bit. Maybe try to get to the same destination by taking that U-turn that is illegal. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. So we talked a little bit in our last Marvel one discussion that we talked about, and I feel like we only touched the surface of it, but we talked a little bit about the Marvel men last time, but I want to talk a little bit about the Marvel women that have come out. Now Marvel started this journey 2008, so it's been a while, right? And they started off with Iron Man, and very white male cisgender sort of audience. That's what they were going for. And sort of the first female character that they decided to introduce was, of course, Black Widow, sort of the femme fatale, the black type, but boobs for days, big lips, the very sexualized
Marvel.
right. They could have kicked off their franchise with a woman, with somebody like Wanda or the Wasp, or even the She-Hulk, the lots of material that they could have pulled from, but they started with Black Widow. Why do you think they did that? Do you have any guesses why they might have done
I
that.
should say in a PC version or a PG version, I should say. No, it's pretty obvious why they did it. They did it because, first of all, Scarlett Johansson is Scarlett Johansson. She looks great in a black bodysuit. So
Yeah, she does.
Easy. No, but it's. I think the error that a lot of comics in the early days of comics, not so much anymore, made as well, to think that comics were going to be consumed by a certain branch of our population, like you said, cisgender white men, between an ages of like 15 to, let's say, 25, right? And the most appealing thing for a teenage boy, I hate to say it, but it's a lady with some big boobies. That's just biology. And then put on top of that Black Widow's power is in her sex appeal, right? That's kind of the driving force in the beginning when they introduced Black Widow. Yes, she is a strong fighter. Yes, she has a strong personality as well. But really, it's about that classic femme fatale spy, sexy, using my wiles to get what I want. And that's all over film. If you look at Star Trek in its glory days, early days of DC, all of comics, that's a very common trope. I think in 2008, they certainly don't get a pass. Like, this could have started better. We were still in the 21st century. But I get it. I get who they were targeting, who their audience was, and what the litany of material behind it was. I think they fairly quickly saw that, oh crap, half of this audience, if not more, is women. And look, I appreciate Scarlett Johansson, but I would like some women that I could relate to as well. I think we talked a little bit about the issue with Captain Marvel in the way that it was introduced, and why half of the fandom didn't really care for the movie is because it wasn't really made for them. It was made for a female audience. Captain Marvel is very much women empowerment, and not a woman growing into her power. It's not really about that. It's about a woman who already has power stepping into a very male dominated world, and
a fully covered woman.
Yes.
Fully covered.
Yep.
Like complete. She's covered. There's no like sexualizing. I mean, yes, it's a tight suit, but it's not, the zipper busting out sort of, cleavage shot. So yeah, I mean, I think that over time, I think you're absolutely right. They started to see that we are not representing the audience that we have, and we really need to start paying attention. And I think they've progressively gotten better. Are they finished doing what all they can do? Of course not. They're always striving, I think, to do better. And I think Eternals is a step in the right direction there in terms of representation and so on and so forth. But yeah, I think she was the first, but I mean, even with Wanda's character, she started out much more sexualized, and she has become less and less, and now her outfit is not sexualized at all, and it's a pretty kick-ass costume. And
then with Captain Marvel, horrors of horror, she cut her hair.
Right.
Like the certain subsections of the fandom. Oh my god, she cut her hair.
Right.
Yeah.
Now she's no longer attractive. Now what can we do?
What? She can cut her hair. Shocking. But yeah, with the female characters in particular, I think, look, I would love to say that it's this altruistic, progressive, Marvel idea, right? And to be fair, they've taken on a lot of social issues in their shows. So I give them credit for that. But it's also a business decision.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, if they don't make money, they can't. Yeah, they have to make money. If they're not making money, yeah. I mean, there's only so far you can push an envelope.
Absolutely. And to be frank, it is something that you should consider in your writing. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't take on causes or issues that are important to you. 100% go for it. But at the end of the day, your book is a product. And I've said this to all of my authors many times. It can be a passion, it can be something that you enjoy, and it could certainly be something you stand for, but it's also a product. Absolutely. And you have to think about the audience in which you're giving that product to. Now, if my goal is to educate them on an issue, teach them certain things, or simply to push what I believe in, those are all valid reasons for you to sell that product. But you have to know that going in. And you have to know that no matter what you write, some people are not going to like it. That's just the bottom line. And certainly some people in the Marvel fandom have not liked the introduction of these new strong female characters.
Yeah. It's absolutely whatever you're writing, it becomes part of your brand. You know, it becomes part of what you're putting out there. So you just need to think carefully about what you're deciding to put down, and you know, how is it going to age as well? Sometimes you have to think about how things age, and you know, because books are forever, right? You know, the opinion you have now you might not have in a few years, right? So it's this delicate balance, but at the same time you don't want to just ignore having an opinion on things. So it's a delicate thing that I've certainly not mastered.
Right. And I don't think it's something that you ever do master. I think it's always developing, right? Because I look at the Marvel shows that have come out recently and the social issues that they've touched upon, and I think it's also a reflection of our time and what is happening in our country right now and things that people care about and are talking about. Whereas if you try to do that at a different time, it might not have the same impact. Right. So things can also be timely, but again, like you said, just considering that what you put forth now, how is it going to look in 10 to 15 years? And if you're okay with whatever you're putting out, that's awesome. But again, just being mindful of those kinds of things, of longevity of books, because they do last a really long time and sometimes past you. So so all of those things into consideration in your writing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to switch to something maybe a little bit lighter and a little funner, that may have nothing to do with writing at all, but maybe we can work it into writing. Well, I'm sure we could. I'm curious to know, and I don't know if we talked about this in our last broadcast. Who is your favorite Marvel character and why?
Oh, easy, Deadpool.
Oh, okay.
Deadpool. I know.
Why Deadpool?
Oh God, I love Deadpool. I've loved Deadpool from comic days. Deadpool, I believe we talked last time about Loki being the first openly now canon bi character, but Deadpool then.
Deadpool's a little bit more open about things.
Deadpool's very open about things. And when Ryan Reynolds played Deadpool, it just added the cherry on top of the sundae because he is the most brilliant Deadpool I could ever imagine. Everything about him, from the quirky campiness that I love of some of the other movies to his just unapologetic "this is me" attitude, is I am a forever Deadpool fan.
I want to see Ryan Reynolds singing "This Is Me" now. As Deadpool, right? That needs to be a thing now.
100%. What about you? Who's your favorite?
Oh well, is it not obvious? I'm a Winter Soldier girl, and so is my daughter, which makes things very awkward. We both
before or after the actor played Winter Soldier? Just curious.
After. Come on now. Come on. All right. I'm a Sebastian Stan fan, okay? But particularly I like what he's done in Winter Soldier. And so my daughter and I are always like exchanging pictures or information. And he's now in that Pamela and Tommy thing on Hulu about the whole sex scandal. I'm like, maybe you skip this one, my dear. You're only 16. Maybe you don't watch this particular one. I'll watch it and tell you how it is. I'll tell you how it is. But but no, I think it's clear. I love a broken character, and who's more broken than poor freaking Bucky Barnes? So I'm a sucker for those types of characters, just in any literature. So And it doesn't hurt that he's not bad to look at. I mean, fine. Sure.
Boy.
Right.
Little broken,
you know,
needing a little love.
right. Because I had no interest in his character in the first one, where in Captain America, the first one,
right.
Whatever. Okay, side character who thinks he's all that in a bag of chips. Whatever. I have no interest in you. But show me somebody who's being tortured and emotionally hurt. Hello.
Yep.
I will follow you now. I need therapy, I think. Okay. It's getting hot in here. It feels hot in here. And maybe that's a piece. I mean, what is it for you? I mean, I've just exposed myself as to what makes a certain Marvel man hot for me. But I know we talked about this a little bit last time about Marvel men in general, but what makes them like hot? Okay, outside of who's the hottest character maybe for you? Maybe instead of your favorite character, who's a character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that you go like, yes, please.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's a tough one.
Narrow it down to 1 or 10.
I mean, the easy answer is Thor, right? Because he's just so pretty. But again,
is it an easy answer? I wouldn't choose Thor.
I feel like so many people would just say Thor. I mean, a million people say Loki too, which is just that's a whole other can of worms that we do not have time to open up.
Sure.
But like with Chris Hemsworth in particular playing Thor, I did not find Thor attractive until Guardians of the Galaxy, until Ragnarok, until he's funny, right? Until like we get that, and I'm waiting for Guardians of the Galaxy to come out with him. But until we get the comedic Thor, like yes, he's very pretty to look at, but I'm not invested in him until he's funny. And that's why I think I love Deadpool so much, and Ryan Reynolds in particular is again very lovely to look at until we mostly get the mask though with Deadpool, right? Right. But it's that comedic element for me, I think that makes them more attractive.
Right.
What about
is then Deadpool one and the same? Is that one and the same for you? Is Deadpool then the sexiest for you since it's you're drawn to humor?
I don't know. I mean, the Loki thing also, there's just something about Loki, just that sad
Deadpool and Loki in one bed.
Yeah. I'm not complaining.
That's a party, I suppose. Yeah.
Should we get into the screw, marry, kill then?
Let's do it. All right. So we're going to do a screw, marry, and kill, because why not? It's fun. So one character you can only have sex with, but that's it. That's all that they're there for. You're not having conversation with them. You're just literally betting them. Mm-hmm. The next person you can marry, have conversations with, live your life with, but you can never have sex with them. And the other person you gotta kill. Sorry. Without having sex with them or talking to them, you just gotta kill them.
Wait, I can't have sex with the married person?
No, that you can't have sex with a married person. Yeah.
Wait, I never knew this. What?
Yeah, that's what makes it so hard.
Oh,
that's what makes it so hard. Yeah.
Whoa.
That's the kick. Did you never play it that way?
No,
that's always how I played it. That's what makes it. Yeah.
Well, that makes it so much tougher. Okay.
This is what I'm saying to you. Okay, so all right, now I'm gonna throw them, and I think I know what the answer is gonna be, but I'm gonna throw. All right, I'm gonna do Deadpool for you because you love him so much. Okay. I am gonna do Loki for you, and I'm gonna do anyone I say is going off a cliff. So I'm just gonna.
Hawkeye, off the cliff.
I was gonna say just listen to Hawkeye because everybody throws him off a cliff anyway. So go ahead.
Oh wow. So okay, but with Mary, it's living a life with Loki or living a life with Deadpool. Like those are
right.
choices. Right. I think I'm going to screw Loki and marry Deadpool because at least with Deadpool, I would have a lot of laughs and I wouldn't actually have to worry about being drawn into a multiverse somewhere or having a variant pop up. So
that's exactly the path I would take as well. Absolutely. Hands down, that's where I would go. All right, how about Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Falcon?
Ooh, I'm gonna screw Winter Soldier. I'm with you on that. I think I'm gonna marry Falcon because I feel like that would be an interesting life. Because Captain America for me is just a little. I've said it before. He's a little too white bread, a little too boring. I'm not down for the 1950s lifestyle, so I'm gonna have to kill him off. What about you?
I think I'd probably kill off Falcon because I think his jokes would irritate me after a while. Like him trying to make himself laugh, I think would drive me up a wall eventually. You know what I mean? Like it would be funny for like a year, but then it'd be like, dude, you're not funny anymore. I know your jokes. So he's going off just because I think his humor would drive me crazy. And yeah, I'd marry Cap because he could lift all the furniture while you vacuumed, and he could do the things that a married person could do well. And then Winter Soldier.
But Falcon can fly, so we could take some trips.
Well, Cap can run fast and carry me. So
you're gonna have your Twilight moment in the meadow with Cap.
Yes, I will hold on tight, Spider Monkey. Oh my God, that makes all right. We have. I'm just checking the clock. We have gone too far. We have gone too far.
Deep end, yep.
We have gone into the deep end. So I'm gonna call it. Do you want to take us out, or do you want me to?
Oh, awesome. First of all, if you would like us to do a part 3, I am sure that we would have no problem talking for another hour about Marvel films. So
absolutely
no, give us a like. Otherwise, I think that about does it for today. And if you want to learn more about either of us or any of our other podcast hosts, you can check out our website, www.boundbybookspodcast.com. Be sure to join us next week as we talk more about books and the things we love about them in Bound by Books.
Goodbye. Wait! Before you go, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and check us out on our website, boundbybookspodcast.com.